Hi, my name's Rob. I'm part of the clergy team here in Portishead, and it's really lovely to be with you. Welcome to our thought for this week. I love the character Eeyore in A. A. Milne's books. He's such a wonderfully miserable character. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He describes things as he sees them, and the world to him seems pretty bleak. And yet he has this wonderful group of friends who love him and support him unconditionally, who remind him that the world is not always such a bleak place as he likes to see it. I suspect that Eeyore is a peculiarly British character. Um, I certainly identify with him. He doesn't talk things up. Um, he doesn't think that things should be better. He just describes them as he sees them, and I think that's something that in Britain we are more inclined to do than in perhaps some other parts of the world. Eeyore reminds me of Thomas, the Thomas that we meet in the Gospels. We don't see Thomas often in the pages of the Gospels. Uh, we're going to hear a story of him, the most famous story, in just a moment. But there's another occasion that John, in his Gospel, describes when Jesus is about to head off to Jerusalem, and his disciples are concerned that there'll be danger there, and Thomas says, "Let us also go, so that we may die too." It's bleak, it's real, it's honest, and he describes the situation as he sees it. And then, of course, there's this story, one of the resurrection stories, where Jesus has appeared to the other disciples, but Thomas wasn't there. We don't know where he was, but he wasn't there. And then when the disciples tell him, he says, "Well, I don't believe you." And so I'm going to read that passage to us now, and it's from John chapter 20. Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my finger in the mark of the nails, and my hand in his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." I wonder whether sometimes we can put too much emphasis on this thing that we call faith, particularly when we think of faith as being a kind of intensity of belief. How much do you believe? Of course, faith is important, and yet Thomas here reminds us that intensity of belief is not the be all and end all, because Thomas famously doubted. He didn't believe his friends when they told him that they'd seen Jesus. He almost couldn't bear to open himself up to the possibility of disappointment. And so he said, "I don't believe you. And unless I can meet Jesus myself, meet the risen Jesus, put my hand in his side and my fingers in the holes in his hands and feet, I won't believe you." That's what he said. And yet, what happened? Well, Thomas put himself in a place where he might meet with Jesus, and Jesus showed up and encountered him. Doubt is a really integral part of faith. We all struggle with what we believe sometimes. Thomas reminds us that the key thing is we keep going back to a place where we know we might meet with Jesus, where Jesus might show up. That might be in that place that we go to pray. It might be in church where we meet with our fellow Christians. We're honest about the fact that sometimes we find it hard. We find it hard to believe in this risen Christ. And yet, like Thomas, can we keep going back and putting ourselves in that place, hopeful, expectant that Jesus will appear and meet with us again? Easter is a wonderful time of hope and joy. It's not necessarily the way all of us feel. And yet, if we want to encounter the risen Christ, let's put ourselves in a place where he might come and meet with us, where he might take the initiative and respond to that little step of faith that we can make, whatever it may be. May God bless you.